Alright guys, we are back for another Dokkan Battle video. So we have a new powerful EZA character here. This is the Super EZA Physical Goku Black. Now, I mean, he is a good example that a lot of times I think people do jump the gun a little too quick just based off of details. While Goku Black, I think you could argue very easily that his design is pretty poor. At the very least, Super Bosses does seem to be getting continued, kind of like love, continued buffs. So, like these characters that are going to be at their best on Super Bosses or designed to be used on Super Bosses, I think are potentially not going to be as bad and are going to be continuing to grow in viability here. So let's just go ahead and jump in. There's not really too much movement here. Again, I mean, I don't... Until like a new tough fight drops or something like that, I can't imagine there's going to be significant shakeups on this list, because we do get additions to this list just so every single celebration, right? Whereas like a lot of the lists I keep up, you know, like top 10 LRs and stuff like that, you know, we could go a long time, right? I mean, we haven't gotten a top 10 LR contender, I don't think, since, you know, March 5th or whatever it was. So, all right, let's jump in. So at number 10 here, we're going to have DOKKANFEST Super Vegeta. I think Super Vegeta is a fine, powerful character. Well, I mean, he is sturdy in the first couple of turns. He's not the biggest defensive juggernaut of all time, but he at least can kind of hang tough as long as it's not, you know, I don't know, Cell Max Super Attack or something crazy. I do think that this kind of like Super Vegeta is kind of like decent, right? Like there's a lot of different places around the game where you can get some value out of him. He's not the craziest ever, but I do not consider him a bad EZA or anything by any means. Next, we have the Super EZA EGL Dragon Fist Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Very, very effective. I mean, very clearly all these Super EZA characters dropped with the express intent to help a Dokkan Fest. This guy clearly helping Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Kid Buu designed to help Fat Buu. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks designed to help Topo, as well as, you know, LR Ginyu. And then, of course, we have Super EZA Goku Black, who's designed to help Rose Goku Black. So we have all these characters who could kind of like help these other characters in that fashion. This guy does his job well with that. The one thing I just always have to go to, he could do a lot of damage quickly. He's got some support and stuff like that. He's a good character. But, you know, he does have a big-time flaw, which is kind of like this right here. Only a 30% chance to dodge, and then he dodges, and it gives him 150% defense for 3 turns, and a high chance to crit. That 150% defense and chance to crit for only 3 turns is really the genesis of my issue with this guy. I think if this was just 7 turns instead of 3, he would be significantly better. That's kind of like the double-edged sword to him, but I think he's a nice, effective character, a good kind of like preview of what Super EZA characters can look like. Next, we have EZA Zamasu. Now, I mean, EZA Zamasu, I mean, I don't want to go crazy that he's like, oh my god, so crazy or something like that. One thing that helps both of these characters, too, is their typing, EGL. But Zamasu, I've found it to be rather easy to kind of slide him in some of these fights, usually in this form right here. I found that EGL Zamasu can kind of work effectively, especially I think too, remember, you know, now we know that LR Cell Max is coming, and I do think that like LR Cell Max is even going to make it easier for a character like this Zamasu and other characters to kind of like participate on Super Bosses, right? Like Cell Max seems like exactly what the doctor ordered for that team. And I mean, we get a Dokkan, like a domain update as well. And I mean, Super Bosses is really going to start to look good. I don't want to pretend like this guy is some juggernaut or something like that, but I feel like this guy can perform a little bit better sometimes than people give him credit for. You know, a lot of it has to do with typing, but I mean, there's several fights where this guy can have some decent effectiveness in, I think. And then this is where I think Super EZA Goku Black comes in. And the next 2 characters, Gotenks and Kefla. So we could just go ahead and fill all 3 of these in. So here's Super EZA Physical Goku Black, Gotenks at 6, and then I like Kefla at 5. So just quickly with Gotenks and Kefla, I don't feel like I need to spend too much time talking about them, because obviously these are characters who have been out for a while. We know kind of what they are and stuff like that. I do kind of feel like these two characters are kind of tied at the hip because they're very similar. Like, if we think, like, okay, I don't see how we could put Goku Black like above in Gotenks, but then below Kefla. Like, I don't really see that so much. Like, some of the flaws and some of the strengths of both characters, Gotenks and Kefla, I think are really rather similar, right? Whereas Gotenks has just unconditional dodge. You know, Kefla does have to get some orbs, but Kefla transforming is just next turn and then next turn, and bam, you're in Super Saiyan 2. Where, you know, then at that point she's able to get the 70% dodge. Again, you guys know that I'm the dodge guy. I really like dodge on characters and stuff like that, but I don't, you know, I'm not just like, oh my god, they've got dodge, they're the best ever. If it's a character that's like a dodge or die situation type character, and you're not at 70% dodge at least, I'm not super crazy about you. So even base Gotenks, base Kefla, Super Saiyan Gotenks, Super Saiyan Kefla, like, I'm not the craziest about either of them. It's once you get into Super Saiyan 2 Kefla and once you get into Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks that I'm really a big fan of them. But, I mean, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, he does come deep in these fights. I mean, we can do a lot of runs with Gotenks and never even get to Super Saiyan 3 form, and then potentially even when we have a chance to get into Super Saiyan 3 form, you know, remember that this guy does have an HP condition here. You know, sometimes he can activate a little HP healing to help you out with that, but I've not been able to transform a couple of times recently because of this. And because of the very quirky design, the earliest you could ever get Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks with perfect RNG is turn 6. Whereas Kefla, I mean, we don't even need to use the term perfect RNG. It's just next turn, and you can get Kefla on turn 5 very easily. Whereas Gotenks, it's like specifically he's in either the first rotation or slot 7, and then you immediately float him off, and then he comes back, and you happen to be above HP. I've just found it much easier to transform with Kefla. And to me, that's the difference between the two. Because I'm not super crazy about either of them until they get to their final form where their dodge gets, you know, it's quite a bit safer. At least it feels like to me. And it's just much easier for Kefla to get to that 70% dodge than it is for Gotenks. I probably would say I like like Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I probably like him better than Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, probably. I mean, Kefla is able to do a lot of damage, and she does do a lot of attacks. But, I mean, Gotenks, I mean, I guess to be fair, he does have to dodge and attack first. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I probably do like Super Saiyan 2 Kefla over Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks as well. Thinking about it. Regardless, though, I feel like they're close enough, right? But Kefla above Gotenks, I'm fine with. Now, Goku Black. One major issue with this guy, right? When I talk about he has a bad design, there's two things in particular I point to. Number one is you can cheekily try and run him in slot 1. Like, maybe if there's like one attack in slot 1 before you get to attack, and then there's like 5 attacks afterwards, and it's like, all right, let's risk that it's not a super attack. He gets hit once, he takes real damage, but then, you know, we're able to get him built up quickly. This is very tough on a character that gets almost all of his defense when he attacks. It's really tough on him, right? And then also, usually you're going to have to run a full Super Boss's team. All right, basically. You can get his Rainbow Orb changing against a Goku family enemy, but, I mean, that's essentially, like, one fight. I guess a second fight, if we want to count UI Goku Supreme Battle Spectacle. And I have toyed with the idea of doing showcases sometimes in Blue Kaioken Goku Supreme Battle Spectacle. I might do a video of that. Of Goku, of both Goku Blacks against Blue Kaioken Supreme Battle Spectacle, Blue Kaioken Goku. Because the Goku Blacks will be very good for that stage. So that's something to keep in mind. But super bosses, you know, you have to run this guy in full super bosses, and it's, you know, one of the worst teams, and, you know, you guys know every character looks worse on the full super boss. It's just true. It's a factual statement. Every character looks worse on full super bosses. But I mean, now, I mean, we did get the details and the info earlier. I mean, LR Cell Max is coming, and I mean, my title is not an exaggeration. LR Cell Max is broken top 5 level. That's correct. He's got a taunt. I think adding Cell Max to Super Boss, it does make things a lot easier for this guy. I don't know about pushing him above Kefla and Gotenks, though. I feel like people really do not like Gotenks, but people do like Kefla. But I just don't really, I don't like the idea of splitting them up at all. And I don't know that I would put Goku Black above Kefla. You could, I guess. If Super Boss is really, like, if it's maybe if Cell Max is even better than I'm thinking, and the domain update is good, I mean, Goku Black could be a very safe, very powerful floater on Super Bosses. I mean, he is supporting. Most of the good Super Bosses characters are extreme, besides Topo and Kefla. Like, those are kind of like the two major super class. I mean, we could get a Jiren at some point. They could easily do, you know, Tanabata could be UI Goku and Jiren, for sure. That definitely could be the case. But yeah, I feel comfortable like that. Next is Super EZA TEQ Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I do feel like there's a potential that people could disagree with this, but I mean, this guy is just very, very, very good. If you're at 11 key, he has 50% damage reduction, 50% crit, and 50% dodge. It's just nuts. He's really, really good. I've found him to be supremely strong. He's got another one of these, like, defensive buffs for the first couple of turns to help you get situated. If we're running him on Topo's special pose team, I mean, I have found no issues with this guy being able to just flat out dominate. Like, the rotation of this guy and LR Ginyu, I found to be crazy, because it's pretty easy to get Ginyu stacking. I mean, I guess we have to get lucky and actually get Birder and not Jace. But I found it to be pretty easy to get the stack in. And Gotenks living at 11 key is very easy as well. I think Gotenks is very good. Global players, you guys are going to see. I think he's crazy. Next, we have Exchange Majin Buu here. I probably don't really need to spend too much time talking about. I mean, we know what the top 3 is, right? Like, oh, surprise, Kid Buu is 2, and oh my god, TEQ Gohan is 1. No way. Like, yeah, like we all know how good these Majin characters are. We can put it just like that. Oh, I forgot to make the second tier list. I guess I could just do that real quick. Hold on. All right, yeah, so probably something like this is exactly what I'm feeling comfortable with. And just to get a look at it like this, I would probably put it right here. I don't feel like there's like a super... Like, TEQ Gohan is really good, and he could stack up nicely, and he's very good. But, I mean, I don't feel like he's 70 levels above a lot of these other characters, right? Like, a lot of these EZAs are just very good. I mean, there's points where they could get crushed. There's fights where they could get crushed. There's fights where they could all dominate. I mean, one good thing about the current sort of meta is we have all these very difficult fights and all these characters who could perform really well in all these difficult fights. I think the game is just in a super good spot right now. So, Exchange Majin Buu, there is extreme value in being really good, really strong right away. And that's what Exchange Buu, in my opinion, really can bring to the table. I don't think Super Buu is good enough, flat out. Evil Buu is so good, considering you get him turn... He is crazy for turn 3. This guy is nuts. But, like, once you start to... You know, this guy, the earliest you can get him is turn 6, just like Gotenks. This guy just pales in comparison to Kefla and Gotenks. Super Buu, he's just not as good as Kefla and Gotenks. But I do think that just the overall strength of the Majin Power team, running this character along all these other Majin Power characters, this character is fairly consistent as well. Whereas Gotenks, you know, sometimes I've not been able to transform with him. I have never had this issue, of course, with this guy. On the Majin Power team, that's invincible unless you get one shot. This guy is capable of tanking, you know, like the Supreme Battle Spectacle Beast Gohan boss and some other bosses like that. The 3 million plus super attacks will kill Super Buu. You know, he can do damage at that point. I feel like he's effective, right? Like I feel like he's pretty good. Like this feels like the right spot for him. Although again, once you get the Super Buu, I do like Super Saiyan 2 Kefla and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks above Super Buu for sure. But he's just this character is just so much better than Base and Super Saiyan Kefla and Gotenks. This guy in particular, I mean, he's lapping those two. This guy is really good. It's so easy for Kefla or Gotenks to get crushed. This guy has got 70% damage. Like, he's got the same dodge as, like, Gotenks and Kefla, practically. I mean, Gotenks could get a little bit higher, blah, 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 blah. Right? But it's like, he's got practically the same dodge as them. But then the fucker also has 70% damage reduction. It's crazy. Kid Buu is just super good. His support is so powerful. He's a big bad boss's character. It's just with his damage reduction. I mean, he does have a similar issue to Goku Black, where this is a character who gets all of his defense when he attacks, and he does need to get hit to build up some stats, but I don't know, man. This guy just feels so easy to bring. I just would wonder, like, why wouldn't you run him so often? The question is, like, can I make a reason why I don't want him on the team? When you have a character who is capable of giving support this strong, and they can actually eat hits from these big Red Zone and Supreme Metal Spectacle bosses, I mean, they, you know, like, Kid Buu deserves the grapefruit technique, man. Like, he's good. He's good. I love support characters that are really strong. You can just run. Very good. And then finally, we have TEQ Ultimate Gohan. I mean, he's guarding, he's stacking, he does a million supers, and he's got the attack debuff, which is very valuable. Weapon super attack character as well. I still don't have the title. Can you believe that? I still don't have it. Still do not have the title. One day I'll get it. One day. But yeah, I mean, no real change here. As you can see, the only thing is future Gohan falls off, and then Goku Black slides in right at the top, right in that Z tier. Yeah, I feel very comfortable with this as the top 10. So here, let me kind of... Yeah, perfect. There we go. Let me know what you guys think. You know, feel free to let me know how dumb I am. I love you guys. Mwah! Kisses. Here, I'll blow you a kiss too. And I'll catch y'all next time.